Hello, Namaskara. This is Ramesh for Idina, so for the share market discussions. So after a long time, ಎರಡು green candles ಬಂತು ನೆನ್ನೆ ಮೊನ್ನೆ. ಇವತ್ತು luckily it has closed in green, so we have had 3 consecutive days of green closures. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ರಿವರ್ಸಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾ ಅಥವಾ ಬಾಟಮಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾ ಅಥವಾ ಈಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೆಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟ್ ಬೌನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಡೆಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟ್ ಬೌನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಟ್ರಿಕಿ ಫ್ರೇಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್. ಸೊ ಅದು ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ದೇ ಸೇ ದಟ್ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಡೆಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟ್ನ ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಬಿಸಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಬೌನ್ಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತಂತೆ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಇದು ನಾನು ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ ಆಗತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಬಟ್ ದೇ ಸೇ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅದಾದಾಗ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಲೈಫ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಆ ಕ್ಯಾಟ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಪೀಪಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಥಿಂಕ್. ಬಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಒಂದೊಂದ್ಸಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದ ಲೈಫ್ ಇದಾಗೋದು, ಅದು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಒಂದು ಬೌನ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಡೆಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೈ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದೊಂದ್ಸಲಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವೆನ್ ದರ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ರಿಲೀಫ್ ರ್ಯಾಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಾಗ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವಿ ರಿಯಲಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ಇದು ರಿಲೀಫ್ ರ್ಯಾಲಿನ, ಇದು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರಿಲೀಫ್ ರ್ಯಾಲಿ, ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ರಿಲೀಫ್ ರ್ಯಾಲಿನ, ಅಥವಾ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಕವರಿಂಗ್. ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವೆನ್ಸ್ಡೇ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಕವರಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಅವತ್ತು ಏನು ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆಂಟಾಗೆ ಇಫ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಫಾಲಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟೈಮ್, at some point of time actually the investors will do some short covering, ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ವೆನ್ಸ್ಡೇ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಸೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಗಾಟ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ 250 ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ ಇನ್ ನಿಫ್ಟಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಕವರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪೀಪಲ್ ವರ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮತ್ತೆ ವಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಗೋ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಟು ರೆಡ್ ಆರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ರಿಮೈನ್ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. Yesterday also we had a 225-250 point big candle, green candle. So that was really reassuring. ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದಾಯಿತು. ಬಟ್ ಏನು ಅದು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೊಂದ್ಸಲಿ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ಸ್ಕಾರ್ಚಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ಮರ್, ಆ ಸ್ಕಾರ್ಚಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ಮರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 38-40 ಡಿಗ್ರೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ರೈನ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಒಂದು 2 ದಿನ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಒಂದು ರೈನ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಅದೊಂಥರ ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ವಾಸನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂಥರ ಒಂದು ವೆರಿ ನೈಸ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಗೆಟ್. ಸೊ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಟ್ರೇಡರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಈ ದಿನ .com ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಎಂಬ ವಿಶೇಷ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನಿಮಗಾಗಿಯೇ ಹೊರತಂದಿದೆ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ 50 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಒಮ್ಮೆಗೆ ಓದಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೂ ಓದಿಸಿ. ಇನ್ನೇಕೆ ತಡ, ಕರೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮ ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮದಾಗಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
ಸೊ ಟ್ರೇಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಟ್ರೇಡರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಬೋತ್ ವೇಸ್. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಈವನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಮೇಕ್ ಮನಿ, and the bull markets also they make money, because they can do the put options and call options both. So typically actually for the investors it has been a little good this thing. So yatak idaitu again, it's basically okay, we'll first talk about the numbers and then I'll go into this thing. So 22,554 is what actually ivattu flat agide. 7 points we have had a green small little green candle. But still it is a green candle. That makes a huge difference, because February 28th when we closed, which is actually the first day of the new month, right? I mean, because February 28th was a Friday. So after the last Thursday, then the first Friday becomes the new month. So because expiry admele, that day we had a very miserable 420 point fall, huge red candle. So that was because of Trump's announcement that he is going to prepone the tariffs from April 2nd in the March 4th ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು when he said that, then that caused a huge problem and then it fell, the market fell. So ಅವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ actually the lowest it went was 22,124 and the highest it was at 22,500. So ಇವಾಗ typically ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, when you have a trending month and then when the beginning of the month actually whatever happens, so that will actually the lowest of that will become a good support, and the highest of that particular day will become a stiff resistance anta heli. So 22,500 was that. Fortunately we have beaten that. It has been pierced and we are sitting above that. So 22, even though tumba ಏನು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೂ 22,554 is what actually we are sitting at. So that number has already been pierced. So ಇವಾಗ when you also, so 22,000 then apparently becomes a good support, and between the 22,124 that we closed and then today the 22,554, we have rallied about 430 points. So this is exactly whatever was shaved off on last Friday, So that has been adanna we have been able to kind of conquer that. So that is all which has happened, but looks to be a good interesting move. And idu aglik again actually karana was our new Tughlaq, right? So long back there was one king by name Tughlaq anta heli. So ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯೂ ಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟಿವ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಒಂದು ಯೂ ಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಮತ್ತು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು 3 ದಿನ ಆದಮೇಲೆ, ಒಂದು ವಾರ ಆದಮೇಲೆ, ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳು ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಿಂಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಒನ್ ಬರೋದು, ಆ ಥರ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ Trump looks to be the new Tughlaq now, because January 20th when he took oath, so immediately started talking about tariffs. So imposition of the import duties on all the exporting countries into US anta heli he started, because we want to do MAGA. Okay, so then adadmele, so adu helid takshanane there was some little problem, and then we started falling down. So because if you look at January 2nd when we opened, we were at 24,188. So allinda we have gone down to 22,124 was the low, and then now somehow we have come at 22,554. So adu on the January 20th he started talking about the tariffs, and then on February 3rd was an important date again, because that is the day he actually announced. So for Canada and Mexico 25%, and on China he had announced 10% tariffs. But idannellanu he said that it will be imposed from April 2nd. So there was a big 2-month window that actually he had opened it. So typically ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಥರ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಆದಾಗ it is the time for negotiations. So the state leaders will get onto the negotiation board table, and ಅವರು ಒಬ್ರಿಗೊಬ್ರು ಅದು ಇದು ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು behind the doors of the room, so many things can happen. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊನೆಗೆ things can get kind of waved off, or it can get implemented, ಏನು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ April 2nd ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ, ಮತ್ತು ಅವಾಗ ಅಗೇನ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಎ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಜಿಟ್ರಿ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಆನ್ ದ February 27th, ಓಕೆ, ಬಿಫೋರ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಎ 420 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ರೆಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್, he said that it is not going to be April 4th, April 2nd, it will be implemented right from March 2nd ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ he preponed by 1 month. So that again caused a lot of jittery in the markets. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಇವಾಗ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, again actually he has talked about Mexico. He has said that on Mexico, I am again shifting it back to April 2nd. So the remaining things actually on Canada, it will remain the same, on China, it will remain the same. He has actually opened up a slight bit of negotiation room for only Mexico. So adagi kuda actually probably that could have helped this thing, but Nasdaq and S&P 500 have taken a beating in the US. So US markets actually are not doing well. Ishdina enagtittu, actually global markets were doing well and Indian markets were not doing well. So now actually yesterday the global, especially the US markets are not doing well. S&P 500 and as well as Nasdaq fell yesterday, but then actually we somehow seem to be having a little bit better kind of markets going over here. So apparently it could also be because of like if you look at the okay. So about Nifty 50 nalli 85% of all the Nifty 50 is actually is below the 200-day moving average, and also 96% of the Nifty 50 is below the 50-day moving average. So typically actually when it comes something like this, then most of the things actually the small caps and mid caps, everything have got shaved off by 20% and already hit into the bearish territory. But adre lot of sectors actually are looking little more lucrative right now, and things are looking little the stock prices are slightly looking little attractive for people to start investing back again. So that could be one of the reasons also that actually people are reinvesting and getting back into this thing. And finally FIIs, okay, FIIs actually have slowed down. ಅವರು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಒಂದು 8,000, 7,000, 11,000 crores ಎಲ್ಲ ಎವ್ರಿ ಮಂತ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಬಟ್ ವೆನ್ಸ್ಡೇ ದೇ ಸೋಲ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ 2,895, ಸೊ ಲೆಸ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ 3,000 crores. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ 2,377 crores. ಇವತ್ತಿನ್ನೂ FII ಡೇಟಾ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ, DIFI ಡೇಟಾ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಯೂಶುವಲ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ DIIs ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿನ್ ದ ಸಪೋರ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ FIIs ಯಾವಾಗ ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ DIIs ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಓವರ್ ದೇರ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬೀನ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ ಬೈಯಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟಿಪಿಕಲಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಸೇ ಇದು ಫಾಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ there are no breaks. So it's a very rapidly falling market and the momentum is very, very high in a falling market. And ಆಮೇಲೆ when you start rising back again, it's a little kind of ತುಂಬ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು actually we start going up. ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಮ್ಯಾಥಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕಲಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಟು ಪ್ರೂವ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಲುಕ್ ಅಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ 100 rupees ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಇಫ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ 100 ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ 10% ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಶೇವ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು 90ಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ 90ಇಂದ ನಿಂಗೆ ಅದೇ 90ಇಂದ ನಾಳೆ 10% ಅಗೇನ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋ ಟು 100 ಪ್ಲೀಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ 90 the 10% is only 99, it is not 100. So while going up you have to put that extra effort, that 1 rupee extra effort to go up. So that is typically what actually this thing. And in terms of the Fibonacci retracement levels, if you take from 19,000 in the now tokondre, because 19,000 was the recent all-time low, and avaginda 26,300 was the all-time high, Nifty all-time high. So alli 7,300 points, 7,400 points actually when you look at that particular thing. The 50% Fibonacci retracement level is actually 22,550, 22,600. So we are exactly at that particular level right now. So ಇದನ್ನು actually Monday we have to again wait and see how things open, because again tomorrow again actually Trump has got he is meeting the press. So we do not know what again he is going to say. So ನಾಳೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೊಸದೇನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ಬಾಂಬ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ then something might again turn, because ಈಗ almost actually the entire world is kind of like it is dependent on what Trump says. So ಹಾಗಾಗೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ, and every day he keeps saying something and looks like he can get away with saying whatever he wants. The problem that we have today. So ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿದೆ, one particular thing what happens is it creates a lot of uncertainty for the global economy, the global trade, because it can ಹೆಂಗ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು, ಏನು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, and we really do not know what is this thing. Now ಅಲ್ಲಿ US actually ನಾವು ಇವಾಗ US markets and US industries, US sectors and US companies, how they will react for this ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಟಿಪಿಕಲಿ ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟಿವ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ದ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್, ದ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ದ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ದೇ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ಲಿ ಶೋ ಎ ನೀ ಜರ್ಕ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇವಾಗ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟ್ರಂಪ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್? I am going to increase all the tariffs on the products which come into America. So which means the landing cost for all these products will become expensive. So the US citizens yaar kondkotaro, it will become very expensive for them. Avaraವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, they will start looking at alternatives. They will start looking at local products which are more cheaper than the imported products, and they will move towards that. And if there are no products, local markets, local manufacturers, local industries, local sectors can start taking this as an opportunity, and they will set up shop, they will set up establishment, they will set up factories, set up machineries, set up the assembly lines, and then they will start manufacturing and roll out the products, and the products will hit the road, and US citizens will start buying that. There will be more employment opportunities, and then the US economy will start flourishing, and the US will start getting more taxes from internal this thing. And that is the point, right? But no, that is not going to happen that easily, because the local companies, the local sectors, the local industries, ಅವರೊಂದು 3-4 ತಿಂಗಳು at least they will wait and watch how things develop, because anything can happen. See, the corresponding countries, ಅವರೂ actually they will put reciprocal taxes, which is what China has already spoken about. Canada is also going to do, and Mexico is also talking about all those things, right? So ಅದಾದಾಗ ಅದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, those products actually when it gets imported into the US, those products also no. What products are getting exported from US, when it reaches the China shores or Mexico shores or Canada shores, those again will become expensive. Okay, and then the markets actually, the US exports can start diminishing. Okay, ಹಾಗಾದಾಗ ನಾನು actually last videoದಲ್ಲೂ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದೆ, trade deficits. The trade deficits with Canada, trade deficits with Mexico and China are very huge. ಇದು ಮೂರು ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ it's about $500 billion, $500 billion of trade deficit just between 3 countries for the US. Okay, so 2 years it will be $1 trillion between the 3 countries. So that is the kind of trade deficit what they are facing. So our trade deficit can start becoming much more bigger. So the local companies actually will wait and watch what happens, and also they will try to look at all the viabilities, the financial viability, the operational viability, the technical viability and the business viability ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡು then whether it makes sense to manufacture that in-house and whether we really will be able to bring down the prices. Because if you think about it, China go, US go, when we try to kind of compare and contrast, China is the most populous country in the world, or I don't know if India is the most populous today, between the two anyway. So US actually is only about 1/5 of China's population, right? And amele in terms of the labor these things and all those things, US has got some very strict and regulatory this thing. Iವಾಗ ಒಬ್ಬನ್ ಅನ್ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಡ್ ಲೇಬರರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಡ್ ಲೇಬರರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ, ವೆದರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಬಾಯ್ ಆರ್ ಎ ಗರ್ಲ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್, ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕು ಇಷ್ಟು ಅಂತ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದೇರ್. Those rules actually will be much more lesser in China. For example, if a China, one person in China, if that person is getting about only $10 per day, that same kind of a skill set person in US will be getting about $35 to $40 per day. So that is the difference of the labor cost between China and US. So aa lekka tagondre nimge enagatte, and all the machineries for the manufacture of the goods will have to come from China, because that is what is regularly getting exported from China into US. So if they have to set up some shop, machineries, then the labor is required. Labor is expensive in the US when compared to China. Machineries will have to come from China. China is going to put reciprocal taxes. It's going to become expensive. So in the longer run, if the products that are manufactured in China, in US, the prices actually, if it is not competitive enough when compared to the imported products, that those companies will never get into manufacturing. And even if they do get into manufacturing and adukon competition kodona ant heli, if they find the consumer behavior will change ant helidre, that will easily take about 1.5 to 2 years until when they'll be able to push the products onto the market. So this is the typical kind of a in the economics, typically this is how the industries, the sectors and companies react to any of the economic policies or administrative policies or monetary policies whatsoever the government is going to slap on them, right? So typically this is what happens. So we'll have to wait and see how things develop for this one ant heli. The last part I'm coming to today is about there's something good which is also happening. So adenant helidre, it is something called reverse flipping ant helbitu. This is something which is happening, which is a very nice thing, that all the Indian startup companies, they were getting registered in US, in Singapore and all these places, because it was actually they wanted to be a little closer, physical proximity to the investors, so closer irana ant heli, they used to go and they used to register their startup companies in Singapore and US. So because actually venture capitalists ellanu, actually whoever are going to fund, right, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹತ್ರಕ್ಕಿರಲಿ, ಅವಾಗ ಅದು ಈಸಿಯರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, and also the registration process and everything is relatively easier ಅಂತಾನೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So the red tapeism is little less ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. So that is why they call US and other places the land of dreams. And if you dream something, if you want to start up something, it is more easier in the US than in India anta heli, there was this thing, and that is how these people also from funding angle they used to do that. But that is changing. It is changing, and ivaga recently there has been about 7 to 8 different startups avarellaru allinda vapas barta idare to Indian shores back again. To give you some examples, PhonePe and Zepto, who are actually operating from Singapore, who had registered in Singapore, they have already come back to India. Grow, which was registered in the US, they have also come back to India. So these three biggies, the big startups who are looking to go IPO, avrella they have already come back into Indian markets. The other 5 people actually who are also going to come back is Razorpay and Meesho. Ivribru US al register agiroru, so they both are also in the process of coming back to India. Amele Pine Labs, Udaan and Credit B. So ಇವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ they were set up their shops in Singapore, and actually they are actually in the process of returning back into the India, because just one little example ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, if any company, if any startup wants to go public, IPO in the US, so kind of typical revenue stream, the top line should be about $500 million, I'm sorry. Okay, so $500 million. ಅದೇನೆ ಇಫ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಕಾಂಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಫ್ ಸಮ್ IPO ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ $50 million ಇಸ್ ಗುಡ್ ಎನಫ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸೊ ಅಂದರೆ 10x ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಇನ್ ದ US, which is actually little more easier to go public over here. So hopefully actually the markets, also the secondary markets showing some kind of revival, some trend revival. Let us wait and see how things develop on Monday. Hopefully if everything is getting bottomed out and then we are in the reversal and things are good for Indian this thing. And the IPO markets actually are probably actually with all these Indian startups returning back into India. That's also something good news which is happening. So that's all for today. Thank you very much.
ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ವಿಶೇಷ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಲು ಮತ್ತು ಹೊಸ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯಲು
ಈ ದಿನ .com ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕಾನ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.